All right, so I'm going to start by reading the remote meeting procedures below. Actually, should we take a roll call first?
Oh, read that first and then we do the roll call.
Okay. Here we go. In keeping with an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law by Governor Baker on June 16th, 2021, this meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by committee meeting members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count toward quorum. The meeting will be broadcast live and recorded on ECAT. While the committee members will be on video and audio, public participants will join the webinar as attendee, meaning they are muted and with no video feed from them. During the public participation portion of the meeting, members of the public can be recognized by using the raise hand function found under participants from Zoom, or make a request with the Q&A function. Please state your name and address for the record. Committee members are asked to announce themselves when making a motion and second, so that it will be clear to the audience and minute takers who made motions. All votes will be by roll call. When all business indicated on the agenda has been completed, the members will vote to adjourn the meeting, signaling the end of the meeting and the termination of the ECAT recording. All participants will be disconnected from the webinar at that time. Okay, let's do roll call, and let's do it alphabetically by last name, please.
Roger here.
Dean here.
Gershman here.
Hey here.
Noah here.
And Archioli here. Great. First on the agenda is to review and approve minutes from our last meeting, which was on 10/26. Kelly shared those minutes. Does anybody have any adjustments, or do we have a move to approve?
I'll move to approve. Gershman, move to approve.
And
I have a second.
Second. All right. Do we need to vote on that too?
Yes.
All right, roll call.
Roger, yes.
Dean, yes.
Gershman, yes.
Hey, yes.
Noah, yes.
And Archioli, yes. Great. The first item on the agenda is the "Hate Has No Home Here" signs. Does anybody, I mean, I know that we handed them out at Center School. I believe we handed out, what was it, 55 of them, Irene? Does that sound right?
Yeah.
So we have about that equal amount left. And we also have one person made a $15 donation at that event.
Do you think we should have plans for another opportunity to hand stuff out, or you just want to do that via Facebook, or how do you think you should do that?
I'm not sure.
One thing we could do, and I should have done this earlier and I didn't, but I created a form for people to give us their name and email address if they want to either join the ally list or if they want to sign. So we can add that to the website, but maybe we do another pickup day after the holidays.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting that you were going to basically hand out every one of them. I assume everybody on the committee has one.
I think after the holidays would be good too, especially after kind of New Year's coming. Everyone kind of gets motivated again for big changes.
And do you think we should do another drive-through like we did at Center? It was, honestly, I was only there for the first part of it, but it was a little slow going, wasn't it, Irene?
It was a little slow. I think we should, if there was, are there any town events in January, February of next year? I was thinking that maybe we should hand out during that time.
The way to find that out is to go on to the what's it called, that comes out every Friday, and tells you activities in Easton. I forget the name of it now. I'm blanking on it, but I think you know
Town
it.
crier.
Yeah.
Town crier, yeah.
Okay.
You can always put something into the town crier
Okay.
if that's the way you want to go. Hi, Michelle. So if you wanted to, Amy or Ali or whomever wants to send something to the town crier about we have these signs available, they'll print that. The town will print that. And then people,
Allison, I can volunteer to do that. I'll write something up and run it by you and or Karen. And I'll do the link on the website so that people have a place to go and give us their info.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you. Great. Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
All right, next on the agenda is RMK activities and updates. The RMK folks sent around the most updated version of the proclamation. This was a little bit while back, and we shared it with all of you. Essentially, the RMK folks took our suggestions into consideration and really feel that they would like to keep the proclamation as is in that latest version, to keep it very specifically focused on race. And so I guess we should discuss if anybody still has any questions that we need to go back to RMK on around that for clarification, or whether we're ready to vote on that tonight.
so
Oh,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I saw Liz made some comments also that she sent around to everybody, November 28th. Should we discuss her comments first and then maybe relay those comments to RMK?
Yeah, I didn't see that, but I know she mentioned to me that she was doing some editing. So that might be worthwhile talking about tonight. Those of you who have seen the document and what your thoughts are on that.
Okay, Irene, I'm not sure I can open that at the same time. Are you able to share that, or do you want to talk us through it?
I'm not sure if I can share it because I'm using my phone but I could send it to everybody. Maybe somebody could share it that way.
Does anybody else have the document that Liz sent around?
I'm looking for it. I'd be glad to
I
share.
just re-forwarded to everybody. Sorry.
I have it open now.
Yeah.
Share my screen.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Are you able to see it okay?
Yes.
Now it pops up. Okay, yep.
Seems like the first one's mostly just wording. So
Yep.
I'll scoot a little bit further down.
What are the blue lines underneath? Is there something that do we know what that indicates?
It just indicates where the comment is going. So it highlights the content that she's referring to in her comment.
The lines, for example, under whereas on the
That one's, I think, Word document. It probably is the extra space.
Yeah.
So now it's gone, but it noted that I decreased the space. I think Liz added these ends here. Yeah, you can see it. And then these blue highlighted section relate to the comments on the right side. seems like one of the bigger comments is this one where it says hesitant about the wording here in case some interpret this as the select board or town administrator. And then it says see comment below. So she makes another comment further down.
Yeah, I think it's a question. I think it might, yeah, it's a question around whether it should be the Human Rights Committee on behalf of the town of Easton, or if it should be the town. I think we talked about this a little bit in the last meeting. I'm not honestly sure where we landed or if we landed anywhere.
Yeah, I think Craig's been pretty clear that it should be the Human Rights Committee.
Yeah, that would be, the Human Rights Committee was created to be the voice for diversity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
And it seems to me that the Human Rights Committee, you can't speak on behalf of the town, neither can I, or Dottie or Mark or anybody on the select board, but you certainly can make a statement as to what the Human Rights Committee believes should be happening in town, or that you're in opposition to racism, anti-Semitism, anti-Muslim, whatever it is that you want to say. I think that's the most effective way, because we are the group, you are the group that is charged with that responsibility.
Okay, so anywhere where it says Town of Easton, we should just replace it with Easton's Human Rights Committee.
Yeah, I would think that would be the most effective way to do that. And then it can go to the select board for our support. If my colleagues would agree to supporting it. So that can be well, we have our own, as we talked last time, I think we have our own statement that we endorse every April with after the elections, at our first meeting after the elections.
Okay. So does that answer the last question also? Who is attesting here?
I would think it'd be the Human Rights Committee, yeah.
So do we all each attest with our own individual names, or is it the Easton Human Rights Committee?
That's a good question. Liz probably would be better able to specify what her thoughts are on that.
Well, she's the one who asked the question though, so.
I think RMK's from last visit, they kind of wanted us to basically be the transition zone towards the select committee, from what I kind of heard. So we're more like the first step, the second step being the select board wanting their approval on it. But they may be on today too, so they may be able to clarify more as well.
Yeah, I think the first step would be if the committee feels comfortable changing it to say that the Human Rights Committee of Easton, this is what we stand for. And then if you want to bring it to, well, the other issue is, I know there was some discussion about only specifying racism and not any of the other concerns that people have. And how do you all feel about that?
Yeah, and that was the last interaction that we had with RMK. Ooh, I keep jamming these. The last interaction that we had with RMK on this was, we had made some suggestions to make it a little bit more general, and they came back and said, actually, we would really like to keep it as specific to racism. So I think, yeah, we definitely should discuss that and decide where we land on that.
Right. I mean, I think this committee, if it's going to come out underneath this committee's signatures, if you will, you should make the decision as to whether you're speaking about only racism or you're speaking about any kind of behavior that we don't accept.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that that RMK said that they wanted to keep it as is, and it would be coming from them, and we would be in support of it, but not like the drivers or the we or the I.
I guess.
Maybe I misread an email, but that if we're not going to broaden it, it feels like it should be a proclamation coming from RMK, which we support.
I agree with you, Amy. I think, especially with our overall goal, I think the driver of this proclamation should really be RMK, and we could just say we're in support of that, just because our goals are broader than just race.
I also agree with that. And then I'm wondering, would we go kind of back to the drawing board and create one that's more broad for us?
But isn't that our mission? Like, we have our mission, you know? I feel like this is like a bonus, you know, and
Originally start this to go with the stickers, but then it just seems like where we wanted to go with it and where RMK was going with it were just more parallel than the exact same type of message. Like, I think their message is a part of our message, but whether
yeah, totally.
I think we just need, sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
I was just going to say, I think we just need to be prepared for other proclamations down the road, not necessarily from RMK, but from other groups, you know, and we'll need to just think about those also.
How do you think the public will respond to something from RMK versus from the Human Rights Committee?
I don't know. That's a great question. I think, you know, the responses in general to the HRC are mixed, you know. I think RMK actually has a really strong voice in the community. I don't know what others think.
I
Okay.
think if this proclamation came from RMK, it is more in line, just because of the type of programs and activities we've done. It's more general, so it's more, I guess, a little bit confusing if this came more from us, because it's just strictly it's just on race. It's not inclusive of all other discrimination. So
I agree. I agree. I see it as an organization with its own specific mission that's slightly different than ours, who wants to make this proclamation. And because it fits under the umbrella of our mission, it makes sense for us to support it.
So you want to encourage RMK to redo the proclamation so it says that that RMK supports or is opposed to or whatever, so that rather than the town of Easton, it's RMK?
Yeah, and then we, as the HRC committee of Easton, endorse it.
Okay.
That's what I think feels right.
I agree, Amy.
So I guess the part that I'm confused on is usually it's government agencies or towns who approve proclamations. And I think that's why why it's come to our attention.
Oh yeah, great. RMK is here. Are they?
Yeah, I guess can I let them speak, Craig? Is that part of the plan?
When you get to, theoretically, when you get to public participation,
Okay.
that's when you can have people.
Okay. So we'll just hold off on that for a little bit. So it sounds like maybe we have some more questions that we need to talk to them about. We're not ready to vote at this point.
I guess my question is, can it be written this way, but then have it mentioned here that the driver of this proclamation is RMK and we are supporting, but still have it still coming from town of Easton, because town of Easton is in full support of it, but writer is RMK, and we're supporting RMK.
I'm sorry, Irene, that the comment about the town of Easton is supporting this, is that what you said?
Yes. So it says, it stays the same. The town of Easton recognizes, so like a lot of this would stay the same, but then maybe add in some language to just say that, you know, like the driver of this proclamation is RMK, and we, the town of Easton, is in full support of it,
But you can't speak.
as
for the town
opposed
of
to
Easton.
HRC. Because my thought is if it comes from HRC, we have a broader, so this is just on race. What about all the other areas that we cover too for discrimination, you know, like for like transgender, you know, like sexuality, and like there's so many other aspects.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that Liz's point when she was, wasn't that the point you guys brought back to RMK about the fact that you wanted to broaden it because it, under our responsibility or our mission, it's more than racism?
Yes, I think I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Irene, but I think what Irene is saying is if we just have them add in there something about how this proclamation was written by or proposed by RMK for the Easton Human Rights Committee.
Yes.
Because
Yeah,
that would clarify that it originated with RMK.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, that's why it's about, and the inference is that that's why it's about race and not about all of the other things that the Human Rights Committee has under its mission.
Yes.
I'm not sure that you can say in the proclamation that the town of Easton supports football, or as opposed, you know, I don't know that you can have to say that the town of Easton can't speak for the town. You can speak for the Human Rights Committee. You can speak for RMK, or they can speak for themselves. But it's not the town of Easton. That theoretically would have to go to a town meeting, and there would have to be a warrant article that has this proclamation, and for the town of Easton to vote on that. I mean, personal feelings aside, you can't speak for the whole town.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope that the whole town was in support of this, but you can't speak for them. You can speak for Human Rights Committee. RMK can speak for RMK. You can do it collaboratively, but I don't think you can speak for the town. I had this conversation with Karen. It's too bad Karen isn't here tonight, because I had this conversation with Karen a few weeks ago.
Okay, that's helpful background, Craig. That helps me understand the challenge.
I have one more question. I see other towns with similar proclamations, like town of Chelmsford has one. And it says town of Chelmsford, and I saw that town of, I think it was Amherst, has one too. How is that? How are their towns different?
I'm not sure how their government is structured. I'm not sure if they don't have a Human Rights Committee, so they can't funnel it through a town committee made up of volunteers. So I can't answer that question because I really don't know their form of government.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, so it sounds like we need to go back to the RMK and talk to them about replacing the words town of Easton with Human Rights Committee, and then we can all review it again, along with any other questions that we have. So I guess
Public participation, Denise.
Public participation at the end, yeah. We'll have them join also. Great. Any other questions or comments that we want to talk about now on this? No. Okay.
Just something on the side, sorry, really quick. For the book planning meeting for RMK, we have a book planning meeting coming up on the 13th, just to talk about a new topic for January on CRT, critical race theory.
Great. Thanks, Irene. HRC winter activities is the next agenda item. Does anyone have any updates on anything that we have? We talked about a couple of ideas during the last meeting. We talked about holding off on a couple of things, I believe also, but if anybody has any updates on other activities besides that book meeting. Are we co-sponsoring that one or anything, Irene, or is it just an RMK?
Yeah, we are
Okay.
sponsored. We're helping out, same as how we've done it in the past.
Okay, great.
Do we have trainings coming up in the winter or I know I'm trying to remember back to the last couple of meetings about trying to space things out. Come on, Amy, help me out here.
I think we had discussed a couple of ideas, but we thought that we would take a break around the holidays, the Christmas holidays and New Year's, just given people are zoomed out and could probably use a little bit of a break. Not just us, but just generally people are not as likely to join around that time. But I don't think that we had any specific dates for anything quite yet.
I think I said I'd reach out to Liza about doing something after the holidays, so I'll add that to my list too.
Okay.
Sooner.
That's okay. And then in the public participation, we actually have someone who has joined who's going to talk to us about a potential event in the spring.
Excellent. So you don't see us doing anything January, February, March? No
I would
training.
say maybe February, March, if we could put together something pretty quickly. But I don't foresee anything happening in January that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Anything else in the winter activities? Okay. Any other action items?
Did somebody have some feedback about the how we interacted with the Lions at their festival on Saturday?
Yeah, I was there. So there were a couple of us from this committee who joined. We had the Easton Human Rights Committee banner, and we had about 12 kids join us, and Kathy's husband, and some other friends and family. It was great. I think there were 16 of us in all, and we threw out some candy. We handed out stickers. By we, I mean the kids. And we had a good time. I mean, I thought it was great. We had a couple of folks, walk up to us, as happen quite often now that we have the T-shirts, just saying, "Oh, I didn't realize that Easton had a human rights committee. How can I hear more? How can I get involved?" So it's great. I think the T-shirts, honestly, are making a huge difference. I think it just, when we're together at an event, it really does help sort of get our brand out there a little bit.
Excellent.
Actually, which leads me to the idea that you had, Irene, where did you say that a couple people asked about the T-shirts?
Yes, a couple of people asked about the shirts, seemed interested in purchasing the shirts. So I just mentioned that maybe that would be something good if we could use that fundraising, set aside the money for future events, and we could just have it as giving out the shirts then we're accepting donations. Then we could earmark the money for future activities that we have.
I think it's a great idea. And, in fact, if we could, I'll talk to Liz about it because she's the one who coordinated the printing of the T-shirts. But if we could do it relatively quickly, maybe we could combine it with the Hate Has No Home handout that we're going to plan. Yeah.
I could envision it. We could just roll it, put a ribbon in it, and then tag, put a gift tag that has our the overall mission of HRC.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great idea. Irene, have you talked to Liz about it?
No, I have
Okay,
it.
can you connect with her after the meeting and just see how fast the turnaround time is in that?
Okay, we'll do.
So Liz connected with, who did the printing, you, of the t-shirts?
Liz found a printer, I believe it was out of Rhode Island.
Okay, and that was part of the money that the select board gave to for the committee's use?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was for the t-shirts that we use at our events, but
Right,
this would be for additional ones. Yeah.
Okay.
Any
I
other?
think it's a good idea, Irene.
Thanks.
I think it's a great idea. Any other action items? All right. Public participation. So I am first going to promote Esme Silverman, who is the woman who will speak with us about the potential Pride event in the spring. And it's just going to take me a minute to get her to panelist. Hi there, Esme. If you could just say your full name and your address, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. My name is Esme Silverman. I use she, her pronouns, and I live in 14 Rollins Road in Easton, Massachusetts.
Great, thanks for joining.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I understand that there's a Pride event in the spring that you wanted to talk to us about.
Yeah, of course. So I guess I should give some background context. I was the Gender Sexuality Alliance leader at Oliver Ames High School for 2 years until I graduated last year. And I'm also the co-founder of a nonprofit called Queer Youth Assemble. We serve queer youth under 25 in the United States by doing events and games, fundraisers, protests, you name it, we do it. Pretty awesome. And what really got me thinking about this Pride event is maybe a month or two ago, you may have recalled that there was a Facebook post about a woman in Easton who was talking about how pronouns should not be taught in elementary schools with their kids. And there was an outpouring of support from the town of parents of queer youth, of parents of people who may not necessarily have been queer, but just, wanted to support because they support queer rights. And overall, there was just a huge outpouring of support for Easton's queer youth in middle school, high school, pretty much you name it, they were supported. So after the comments and after realizing that Easton never really has had a Pride event before, I thought it would be an absolutely perfect time to capitalize off of that, off of all the support and create a Pride event for the town of Easton so that other towns, number one, can follow our sense of direction and say, wow, this is a really cool thing that we want to do to support the youth of our town and just the queer population of our town. But also we're setting a precedent for other towns around us that, wow, look at how differently this is done than any other Pride event. This would be really cool for not only the youth, not only for the middle schoolers and high schoolers of Easton, but also the parents who would have an opportunity to learn. And there would be resources, there would be anything that the parents would need, anybody, there would be questions answered there for them. We're pretty much I would pretty much be dividing this up into two different sections. We'd have a youth section and we'd have an adult section. The youth section would deal with events and more fun stuff, resources to help them during their journeys. And the adult section would be more based on resources to help the kids for the journeys and also resources for educators. Possibly this could be a collaboration between you all and my nonprofit and even the middle school and high school GSA. That is if you all agreed to this, of course. But long story short, I think it's an amazing opportunity because just of the GSA for 2 years, I saw this town's attitudes towards queer people grow exponentially. And I think it's a perfect time to capitalize off of that.
I think it's a fantastic idea. I'll do whatever it takes to make it happen, be the point person, whatever we can do to help out.
I think it sounds like a great idea. Esme, do you have a sense for what the event would sort of look and feel like? Is it something in person? Is it Okay. And do you have an idea of where it might be? Sorry, you may have mentioned that.
Yeah, let me just pull this up right now. I have like an entire document written out, but I was thinking like Frothingham or something along those lines for the event. And what we could do is like essentially base it there, and again dividing it into like an adult section and a youth section where the youth can like meet other youth possibly in other like within Easton and other surrounding communities. There could be little games like maybe kickball, because I know that there's like a baseball field there. There could be like little like cornhole games, face painting. There could be organizations for queer youth like advertising there, like giving out supplies, making sure that they're well taken care of, and overall just bringing together all the local queer communities within Easton and beyond. And as for the parent and adult section, there would be, you know, tables, resources, there would be donation flyers, there would be group support where parents could form groups to chat about it and chat about their kids' journeys. So that I realized that one of the biggest problems that I dealt with when I was a student at Oliver Ames was the teachers were extremely well-intentioned, but nobody really took them aside and decided to say to them, hey, this is how you address somebody who uses neopronouns, or this is how you address somebody who is a non-binary person, etc. And I realized that parents are probably just as no offense, but I think that parents might be just as clueless on this matter as well. And I think that it is a perfect opportunity to, number one, support the queer youth, but also educate the parents and educate the adults who may be very curious and may have really good intentions, but may just not necessarily know where to go. This is where you go. This is the one-stop shop for for like learning about this stuff.
I love the idea.
That sounds wonderful.
Mhm.
Let's I have a logistical question. I feel like dates, locations, and budget. Esme, does your nonprofit have any kind of budget available? Because the HRC may or may not.
That is a very fair question to ask. My nonprofit, Queer for Assemble, we have a very small budget right now. We're in the process of grant writing and soliciting donations from people. So we obviously have a budget, and I can't necessarily say that I can't necessarily say that it's a lot at the moment, but I can tell you that I'm like 99% sure it's going to be bigger and much bigger than it is right now. And we'll be able to, at least in part, if not wholly, from like something along these lines. There's also other organizations that we could ask to collaborate with and support us financially. And we could even do a fundraiser within the town to support us financially. We're very good at fundraisers.
I didn't catch the name of your nonprofit.
It's called Queer for Assemble. I will put it I'll put our website in the chat.
Excellent, thank you.
Of course. The website is a little bit not finished right now. I'll full disclosure.
Esme, you mentioned that you have a document that just sort of pulls together a bunch of the ideas that you have for this, for your vision of the event. Great. I think it would be helpful to this committee, if you don't mind, just sharing any details that you have at this point of what your vision is for this. I don't know about the rest of you, but I think it would help me sort of get my head around it a little bit more. Again, I'm super supportive of it right now, but I think it would be helpful to see a little bit more detail if you have it.
I will do you one better. I will not only share the document, I will explain everything on it, because there is no way people are going to be able to understand every single thing that I have written on there. It's just, a lot of it is, number one, my handwriting is awful. And number two, never really been the best at explaining things to people, but we'll try it. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is.
In the meantime, does anybody else have any specific questions for Esme?
I was just thinking, are you intending to have a Pride Day? Is that how, like they have the Pride marches in Boston? Is that what you envision it? Is that how you publicize it?
Essentially, yes, we'd be having one of those. And just to offer some clarification on Boston Pride, it actually dissolved this year. There was a situation where there were a lot of organizations that were led by like Black trans women and other people who were saying that your organization is very problematic for a number of reasons, and they were very legitimate reasons. And the organization, rather than addressing those reasons, simply just decided to dissolve and not do anything about it. They actually, right when the Black Lives Matter protest happened, they put out something that said all lives matter or something along those lines. And that was just extremely tone deaf by them. So they got a lot of criticism from that, and they just were never able to recover from that, essentially. They also had a lot of relations with certain groups. I'm not going to talk all about it, but I will say that. And can you repeat the question again? I have a horrible short-term memory. I apologize.
How you would publicize it in terms of Pride Day? Because, you know,
I see.
We marched in Boston a number of times, and the outpouring was incredible. The number of people who were in the march, the number of people lining the streets, it was incredible. So I think it would be, you know, just trying to think about how you publicize it so that you get a lot of people, not only from Easton, but maybe from the surrounding towns as well.
Yeah, that's a really good question to ask. And I would say the first thing to publicize it as a Pride event, like Easton Pride, just something very short and simple. It completely explains what it is. It's a Pride event that's being held in Easton. And what we would do is we put flyers up, we'd advertise to the GSAs in the high school and middle school, and we'd advertise to the high school and middle school in general. We put it on, that's why I need HRC's help for this, is that y'all can advertise this. You have a very good base of people in this town, and your events definitely have a lot of people interested. So we can definitely like design flyers up and like put both our logos on there, and then have that, and then put those out in the town, share them on Facebook, Instagram, wherever there are people involved. And what we would essentially do is advertise it as a day where it's just a Pride celebration. People could come in, play games with other people, learn about queer topics, and just enjoy each other's company. That's really what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all can take a screenshot of this if you want. I can also like make a running document and send it to you all.
Yeah, Esme, do you want to work together if the committee's fine with this? I could work with Esme to give this a little bit of shape and maybe try to like timeframes and dollars and cents and see what it looks like.
That would be great. That would be great, Amy. And if you could, you know, start to think about the areas of the event where HRC could possibly lean in.
Yeah, I feel like the manpower for volunteering and the connections with the town organizations like the Y, the library, stuff like that. I feel like those are probably the two places where we could help the most. But yeah, Esme, are you down for that? Do you want to get together before the next meeting and do some more planning?
Yeah, that would be awesome. And we have over 70 volunteers in Massachusetts right now. They're all in different parts, but we have plenty of people who I'm sure will be able to help out with this. They're all youth, but they are extremely eager and determined to do something along these lines. And I think that in terms of like a time, I'm sorry, I'm just like answering all these questions, but I think a timeline would be probably like, we definitely want to get like the space secured by like February or March, and then just start planning out the little things like how the floor plan, like what is this going to look like, and then in April and then like in May we'd start really advertising. Like we'd advertise for the entire month of May essentially, and just be like, it's this is coming up.
Esme, I saw like in your presentation there too, there was like a health section. If you ever need any help with that, I'm always available too. You can make questions or just email. I'm a family medicine doctor, so I can always help in any way you see fit. And you did mention grant writing too. Similar to RMK, if you always want us to take a peek at it, editing help, idea help, always feel open to it. Sending it to us.
That would be awesome. Thank you. Yeah, the health section is a really big priority here because we want to make sure that everybody is number one, safe, and number two, making sure that they have the resources to be able to do so.
Oh yeah.
y'all can keep firing any questions at me. I have absolutely like if you say it like I have absolutely no care in the world if anybody has like a ridiculous question. I don't find any questions ridiculous.
Sounds like we're probably in good shape for now, but I'm looking forward to seeing what you and Amy come up with and what the next steps are. Thanks so much for joining us, Esme.
It's awesome. Thank you for having me.
Nice to meet you, Esme.
Nice to meet you. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Okay, now we had some folks from RMK on who are interested in talking. So I'm going to promote Denise first. And I think Dawn also. Is Kristen also? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. I just promoted all three of them to panelists, so they should join us shortly as panelists. I see Denise. Hi, Denise. And Dawn and Kristen.
Would you like me to start?
Sure. So I know you were on from the beginning, Denise. I wasn't sure when Dawn and Kristen joined. So.
All right, and Dawn and Kristen, please feel free to chime in at any point. I just wanted to go back a little bit, and I don't want to take too much time, but just wanted to give a little background around how the proclamation was initiated and where we started. So it was shortly after George Floyd was murdered. And Kristen, a community member who is a mom of a Black young boy, was very active and vocal in the community. And Kristen also found some stickers. And then these stickers were basically white supremacist stickers that one of them was actually facing like with an arrow to her salon. And she tracked some down and found them in different areas of town with these stickers that looked like an arrow that pointed to various establishments that were supportive of Black people, like the farmer's daughter and her salon and other areas as well. Kristen then went to the select board with this and asked for some support, something from the town, a statement that the town would say that they were in support and against racism. When she went to the town and spoke to the select board, she was told that we have to go to the HRC because the HRC is the voice of the town in such matters. And so that's how we transitioned this into the HRC. However, I know that you mentioned when you were discussing that this proclamation is an RMK initiative. Although we full-heartedly support this initiative in every way possible, this is a community member of the town that has gone to great lengths. I mean, the police department, you name it, the NAACP. And so it's a community member of the town of Easton that had been the initiator of this proclamation. So a group of us came together, RMK included, to help write this proclamation. And so we did. And so that's what has been presented. And I know we've been through multiple iterations. I know that there's been a reprieve. And however, we feel that the HRC, because you're the voice of the town, are the supporters and would sign off on this proclamation coming from a community member, similar to the proclamations that Irene looked up earlier, because various towns do have proclamations. And so that's why we came to the HRC for that sign off. And if I missed anything, Dawn and Kristen, if you want to add anything to that background, please feel free.
I have to say I'm feeling really disappointed, and I can't hide what I'm feeling right now. I can't hide and pretend that this is okay. I came to the town because of the situations that were happening, not only directly to me, but to community members, Black community members. And as a mother of a Black son, When my son walks down the street, I want to know that he's supported, he's safe. I can't count how many signs were stolen. Black Lives Matter signs were stolen. I can't tell you how many little situations happened here. You know, little kids on the playground being targeted, Black children on the playground of a white supremacy sticker was found across the street directly pointing at my Black Lives Matter sign. The other sticker was directly pointing at an interracial couple's home where, you know, their 3 children live across the street from Farmer's Daughter, which is very supportive of Black lives. We were told that the HRC is the voice. And when you say it should include everyone, it should include race. It should include. There have been many things. I've many statements on the HRC's website, denouncing, anti-Semitism and anti-Asian. And what is the problem with saying we will not tolerate racism towards our Black community members, our Black family, our Black friends in this town? And you are right. There have been many, many other towns that have done it with no problem. I'm so confused. I'm angry. I live here. My son lives here. And until it affects you, you do not understand how disheartening it is to know that the people that are supposed to represent these human rights issues are not representing it. That's all I have to say.
So Kristen, I don't, speaking for myself, I'm really sorry. Like, I'm so sorry that you're frustrated. I can tell that you're frustrated, and none of us want you to be frustrated and to feel that way. And I think, honestly, I know that because we've all expressed support. I think it's just that we're trying to hash out what the right way to do this is. It's just making sure that we get the right people to sign and attest to it and get the right wording onto the document. I don't think the issue is that we don't support what you're trying to do. Does anybody else have anything to add to that?
No, I agree wholeheartedly. And I'm really sorry if you felt unsupported, because it's not, I know I spoke up before too, and that's not my intent at all. I feel like, I don't think we'd have any trouble saying that we believe firmly that Black Lives Matter, and saying that all over the place on the HRC website or anywhere else. I think the hang up is like that it's the proclamation part, it's the legalese. I think I'm just confused about how to correctly represent the committee or the town. That's all.
Well, I thought that's why we came to you, and that's what we were told by Dottie. And
We've
I guess
never done.
There seems to be a disconnect, and it's a statement. It's a statement to support community members. It's a statement to support the children here. It's a statement to support anyone that comes into Easton, and know that this town will not tolerate it. Bottom line. And if there's another area, another human rights issue that we need to address, we will be on board. We address that, but we need to address the things that were happening in our town, in our backyard. I'm not talking about just George Floyd. I'm talking about things that were happening here in this town. I'm sorry, I'm angry, and I'm so disappointed that this was the committee that I was told that we needed to go to. And it's been over a year, and we've had this runaround with, I don't know what the problem is anymore. I just don't. Craig, you were on that meeting. You were there when Dottie told us that HRC was the voice. HRC is supposed to be the voice, not just of certain people, of all people. And that, I guess I just need to stop talking, because I'm very angry. I'm a mom. This is my son we're talking about. This is, you know, my family, my friends, the people that live in this town. And I just am so frustrated. So I think I just need to stop speaking at this point. Thank you.
I don't think that the issue is that the Human Rights Committee does not support a proclamation. I think the issue is whether it comes from the Human Rights Committee or from, quote, the town of Easton. And I don't think that the select board can speak for the town of Easton. They can speak for themselves, or the Human Rights Committee can be the one who puts out the proclamation that denounces racism. I think the issue from my perspective is that there are so many issues that we face, whether it is racism or anti-Semitism. I mean, I think that's why my point was, can we broaden it? But I can understand that if the issue of racism is the one that is most prevalent, and you want the Human Rights Committee to take that stand, I think that my point earlier in the meeting was it comes from the Human Rights Committee. That is the one that, as Dottie said to you, is charged with the responsibility of addressing these kinds of issues.
Craig, I understand what the Human Rights Committee is for. It's for each of these issues. But when we were having these issues for over a year in the town of Easton, and it's not being addressed, this has been well over a year that this has been going on. I guess that's where my frustration is. I said, when I found the stickers from this white supremacy group, I talked to the FBI, I talked to the police station. I took every necessary step. I called our town administrator. I spoke with Dottie. This is where I was, this is where the politics come in. I was basically told, right? The Human Rights Committee represents the town. The town cannot specifically speak on it. It's the human rights is the voice of our town. I asked our town to address the things that were happening in our town, not the things that were happening in Chicago or wherever else, New York, in Easton, Massachusetts. When it happened, when I found those stickers, I looked up other towns. Well, how did other towns handle the sticker? They came up with a statement from their town to say, we will not tolerate this. It's hate. It's racism. It's not right. It might not affect you. It might not affect the next person, but it has affected me. It affects my son. I'm a community member here. I'm a business owner here. And I just expected a lot more from the people that I was told to go to than I've received. And not just me. I'm a white woman. I don't have to worry when I walk down the street. I don't have to worry. So again, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna stop speaking. Thank you.
No need to apologize. You're passionate about the issue, which is affecting you, and that's understandable. And I'm sure it affects Denise and a whole bunch of other people in the town. I think the issue again is putting the wording together that it's the Human Rights Committee that stands for the people of Easton. It's not the town of Easton. I mean, I think it's just semantics.
We've never done this before, and we're trying to figure out how to do it the right way. And I think it's taken us a long time, and I apologize for that.
Hi, my name's Dawn Perry. Just so I can clarify, and I certainly I commend Kristen for her passion around the subject, and I know that she has brought this issue forward and has been working on it for a long time. And Denise and I and others are in support of that effort, and that's why we put forward the proclamation. I guess just to make sure that I have clarity on what the next steps are. So is it that the HRC is in support of the proclamation? That's the first question. That we need to adjust the wording to make certain that that is reflected appropriately in the proclamation. And I guess the last question I would have is, what's the timing on that clarity that the HRC needs to make sure that that's reflected in the proclamation so that we can move on to the next step, which is to get it published?
I think that was very succinct, and I think it's very clear what your questions are. I think that I can't speak for the Human Rights Committee, but as a member both of the select board and the Human Rights Committee, that if it can be reworded so it says that the Human Rights Committee standing for the people of Easton support, is anti-racism, then I think that answers it. And Ali, you've been more intimately involved in the drafting and the discussion than I have, and Amy. So I think you guys need to speak also about it.
So I actually haven't been too deeply involved. I've seen a couple of iterations and made a couple of suggestions, but yeah, I mean, I think we just need to make a couple of wording changes and then we'll be there.
Wording changes, there's a lot of words on the proclamation. It's not very long, but there's a lot of words. So are we talking wording relative to the way that we describe who's supporting it? Or are we talking wording changing throughout the rest of the content of the proclamation? Because those are two different things.
So I can't speak for the whole committee because we need to vote on it in order to finalize it. From my own perspective, it's just some pretty simple switches of, moving from the town of Easton to the Easton Human Rights Committee.
All right. Thank you.
Good questions, Don.
And so who's responsible for making those wording changes? Is it us, someone from the HRC, or in conjunction?
I would say the way I see it is, I think the ball is probably in our court. I think we as a committee need to make the changes that we want to suggest, and then we'll send it back to you guys for your final approval.
Can we make it a committee goal then to all review it and make any changes before the next meeting so we can vote on it at the next meeting and get it done, like officially put it on the agenda?
Yes.
Does that mean that, so you'll review it as a team and then we have the opportunity to review it before the next meeting as well?
Oh yeah, I think so. I think let's finalize it. Let's try to finalize it before the next meeting if we can. And put an official vote to it finally.
Okay. Okay, and then whoever is responsible from the HRC to make those changes, if when you share the document, you could share it to all three of us, that would be greatly appreciate that. That way we'll make sure we all have it and are able to take a look at it.
Sure.
Allison, do we want to, Liz has actually been the person who has made the most revisions, but do we want to, can we assign it to her even though she's not here? Or like, I want to make sure it gets done. I'm happy to volunteer, but I haven't been too close to it.
Sure. I think she'd be fine with that. Yep.
Okay. If not, I'll.
Both Liz and Karen, because I think Karen's been involved too, and as chair, she's, it should be run through her as well. Just for you, Denise, the only concerns are the wording that the town of Easton, from my perspective. Everything else in there, maybe we want to be able to address other issues in this town, but your point is well taken, and Dawn's point is well taken. That it should be done anti-racism, because that's what we really are facing. The initial issue that came to this committee was was racism, not anti-Semitism, although that exists, guaranteed. The Muslim community is not as safe as we would like them to be, et cetera. So I think there's a lot of stuff that goes on in any town, not just Easton.
Yeah, I mean,
and we would be happy to help the HRC write those proclamations as well for those other groups. So we just want to try to get this one completed first.
Sure.
That makes sense.
I think another issue. Oh, sorry. I think another issue too that Kristen's kind of very frustrated about is more the speed at which a response has been made and being able to get to the right source. Is there any way we can have something more on the website too for someone who has claims, concerns? They could upload the photos, say, of the stickers, the images that she saw, So that way maybe we can document it better and our response towards them.
I think she's done an incredible job of going to all the appropriate people, Sergio. And I think we
I agree.
we have a liaison on the police department who is the human rights officer. And he's already spoken to, I think, to Liz and maybe Karen as well.
Okay.
So we have that funnel to the police department.
Gotcha. So he's our response, and then he tends to bring it towards us. And he,
Yes.
But wait, Sergio, I just want to understand better what you're asking. So are you saying that we should put a photo of this sticker on the site so that people are aware if they see this sticker that they'll know what it means? The reason I bring that up is because Kristen would not have known what this sticker meant, and your average person would not know what this sticker means. She just happened, did you see it on the news or was it on Facebook?
No, it was actually on Facebook. A mom had posted a picture of it. She had seen one in town, and it was crazy because it was a small sticker, and again, not something I would have ever have thought to look for, or it's not even something that would ever pop out to you. It just looked like somebody stuck a sticker on a sign. There's a URL, like you put your phone up to it and it brings you directly to this white supremacist sign. I'm sorry, website.
Yeah.
So that's, and when you look up, it's called the Patriot Front. And they're a nationally known hate group, and they're being investigated by the FBI. So it's not, something to really take lightly. And I agree. Yes. As a parent, if my child came home and had a sticker like that, or again, anywhere, I would not have known had someone not put it out there.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, my original concern was mostly just an avenue to be able to hear the complaints as soon as possible, and for us to be able to say responses and what has been done towards those concerns. But it seems like that's already kind of set up.
I can speak just because I've been around for more than a year or two, but we don't have a formal intake process for the Human Rights Committee. We tend to go through the reporting avenues for the more established organizations like the schools and the police that have budget and resources to actually handle those the right way. And it's been a really tricky balancing act to figure out where we fit in, and I don't know, we could go on and on about it, but we tend to point people in the direction of the more well-established channels that have the resources to best deal with the issues. We're not the police, we're not mediators, we're not, we're just volunteers from the town. So that's kind of where we are. But we have, even done almost audits of other human rights committees and looked at their intake processes. I just don't know if we could support it as a, volunteer group that meets once a month. Anyway, that's where we are. But it's always, we could always bring up the conversation again. I'm sure.
So Ally, I think we have a motion on the floor to finalize this proclamation in cooperation with RMK by our next meeting.
Okay. Anybody want a second?
A second.
Now we vote alpha order.
Just do a roll call of votes. Barger, yes.
Dean, yes.
Hirschman, yes.
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 Oh, yes.
Or Julie, yes.
Okay.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
You
Thank you,
too.
Denise. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Dawn.
Bye.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Do we have any other public participation? I don't see anything in chat or in the Q&A. So I think we can wrap up the public participation piece, and then we just need to decide when we're going to meet next. So if we stick to the first Tuesday of the month, that would be January 4th. Is that going to work for everyone? How's that looking?
I can do that.
It looks good to me.
That works.
Good.
Okay, January 4th, it's 30. Perfect. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Barger.
Second, Drance.
Barger, yes.
Dean, yes.
Gershman, yes.
Drance, yes.
Hay, yes.
Removal, yes.
And Archul, yes. All right,
Thank you all.
that's a wrap. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Have
Thanks.
a nice holiday, everybody.
You
Bye.
Or
too.
holidays, whichever.
You too.